We return to Season 2 of TNG, often as bad as Season 1, but with a beard. They're here for the kind of mission you should expect for the flagship of the Federation sent on a mission of exploration. Yes, they're a bus, here to pick up and drop off some dignitaries for a people who are not only not members of the Federation, they've never even had official contact with the Federation yet. Wow, what could that possibly mean then? Is there some kind of intrigue that justifies why they've asked the Federation for a ship, and why that ship would need to be the Enterprise? Perhaps the contentious nature of the mission runs so great a risk of assassination by either side, or that a neutral ship is needed to avoid any perceived slight against either side, perhaps? Oh, no? Well, maybe an outside power wishes to prevent this diplomatic venture and would destroy any weaker ship that is sent? This is dearly TNG, when the only way that Starfleet could pay its bills was to work for Uber on the side. Now that we're here, Geordi would like to do some overdue engine maintenance while the sordid diplomacy stuff is going on. Picard is quick to note this planet is the asshole of the galaxy and can't fathom why anyone would want to live in such a dump. Again, diplomacy. Of course, Anya back there seems like any charm would be thoroughly wasted. If you imagine one of those cruel, cold, and nasty Catholic school nuns that crack your knuckles with a ruler, you'll say, hopefully one day Anya can reach that level of warmth.
I could arrange for a tour of the ship if you'd like.
Oh, I'd love that. No, that will not be necessary.
Minor joy is bad for your regularity. Salia there is supposed to bring peace to a world, and Anya is her protector. And by protector, I mean smothering to a degree that someone into autoerotic asphyxiation would find excessive. Salia is so sheltered, in fact, that she's actually excited at the sight of Wesley holding a bit of tech, bringing the total number of people ever happy to see Wesley to 1. That alone makes Wesley giddy.
Commander, who is she?
I think she's a governess.
Do you always have to humiliate me, sir? You know the rules. That's 2 questions, Wesley. Now you have to go on duty with no pants. Riker tells him that girl has no time for someone like Wesley. Seriously, that's what he tells him. But Wesley's not going to be stopped so easily, so he asks to talk to Data, the person least likely to make fun of him over this topic. Plus, this is exposition, and Data does that better than anybody. Salia's parents died, so she was brought here to be raised and trained to unite the factions and bring about peace on her world, and definitely not to go anywhere near Wesley's microscopic junk. On the bridge, Troy says the visitors' emotions don't fit their appearance, that they are who they say they are, sure, but not what they say they are. A check-in with them doesn't seem to show anything odd, except Anya glowering at Salia for bringing up Wesley, although she glowers for all of us, really. Data wonders how she can be expected to bring peace to the world, which has a rotation equal to its revolution, so that one side of the planet is always dark and one side always light.
This child is supposed to bring them together. She seems too delicate for such a task.
Well, it's diplomacy. It's not an arm wrestling competition.
Do not be fooled by her looks. The body is just a shell.
That's why I like to crack them open to get at the yolk. Sally is talking to someone we haven't seen before in a bit that doesn't make any sense, since it's just her and Anya, yet this person clearly is familiar with her. This only emphasizes that drivel that passes for dialogue. I'd quote it, but that would require listening to it again. And then the woman turns into an Ewok. It's some kind of debate triathlon. This must be the cute round now. Meanwhile, Geordi's already stuck dealing with Wesley, a punishment that nobody deserves. But this work is getting fouled up because Wesley's so distracted thinking about boobs that first he forgets to bring back the equipment he was sent for, and now zones out while he's doing the system scan.
It's this girl they beamed up, Geordi. She's perfect.
Do I look like I give a shit? After Wesley sets off an alarm, Geordi throws him out and tells him to go talk to the girl so he can sort himself out.
That's silly, Geordi. But, since you recommended it, how should I approach her? If she'll talk to me, what should I say?
Just say, hi, I'm Wesley Crusher.
And I'm a massive dork. Look, I'm busy. Wesley goes off to get advice from others about women.
Are you telling me to go yell at Celia?
No. Men do not roar. Women roar. And they hurl heavy objects. And claw at you.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
What does the man do?
He reads love poetry. He ducks a lot.
Pay attention, Wesley. I'm sure your future with women will involve a lot of being screamed at and trying not to get your ass kicked. He flees just as Picard arrives on the bridge, wisely not asking Picard's advice on women. Find out who she's really in love with, then get close to him, then arrange an accident. That's the real Picard maneuver, son. I mean, Wesley. Picard invites Salia to join in the tour of the ship arranged for Anya, and she accepts, but the critter turns back into Anya and tells her she's doing no such thing. It's a surprise she doesn't insist that everything in this room be covered with styrofoam peanuts just to make sure Salia doesn't accidentally trip and hit her head.
You are no more an old woman than I am a leader.
You are a leader. And I am older than you could ever imagine.
I don't know about that, Anya. I look at that face and I can totally see you telling Gilgamesh to get the hell off your lawn. While she's getting the tour, Wesley asks Riker how to talk to girls, so Riker figures it's a good excuse to practice on Guinan. Frakes and Goldberg have great chemistry in this scene, and it ends the way that all conversations should really end on TNG.
Shut up, kid.
This is also practice in how most conversations Wesley will have with women will end. The rest will end with a drink thrown in his face. While he's getting his lesson, Geordi's trying to fix the thing that Wesley wasn't handling when Anya comes in on the tour and starts criticizing his work. This is not Geordi's day.
It's not a malfunction. It's simply that a minute defocused area is developed. Lowers our operating efficiency.
It could also lead to excess pion production.
Our computer would detect that.
Unless, of course, it too is malfunctioning.
You know what has a far greater chance of causing a malfunction? Getting in the way of the guy who's trying to fix it. So shut up about the pion, you peon.
I will be back to check your progress.
Right now, Geordi wishes he'd stayed on the bridge. It was boring, but he wasn't surrounded by assholes. Meanwhile, Wesley is going to try to talk to Salia, and luckily she was just opening the door to ask the guard for help with the replicator. Well, lucky for Wesley, bad luck for all the rest of us, because he goes in to engage in Wesley-level romance, while Anya is off overreacting to everything. But the worst is to a patient who is sick in sickbay, which you would think by the name is the best place for them. But that's not good enough for Anya.
That disease is contagious.
Very unlikely. Our air filtering system can
But
handle.
there is a chance.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
If you mean mathematically, yes, the probability is not zero.
I cannot rely on your primitive technologies. Kill the patient.
It's a miracle! I'm cured! Yes! And definitely not a threat, what with my disease that causes itchy, flaky scalp. And primitive? Really? Then why did you need the Enterprise to come out here and pick you up for this trip where you're going to nitpick every single little thing? You're like one of those rich bitches whose husbands left them and now complains that everything isn't the lifestyle you're used to. Your spaceship is probably in the shop because you parked it across 2 spots and someone busted the windows to teach you a lesson. Anyway, Dr. Pulaski refuses to murder her patient for an idiot reason, so Anya transforms into a monster to do it herself. Meaning the real victim is Worf. He was completely unprepared for this. He thought he was escorting a surly Teletubby around the ship, not a B-movie monster in disguise. Picard tells her to piss off back to her quarters and knock it off with the shape-shifting, then tells Worf to put guards on sickbay too.
Captain, what if Anya transforms?
Improvise.
Well, that's helpful. No matter what he does, you can complain about the matter, right? Or is this supposed to be a wink-wink, Worf, I would never order you to shoot a diplomat who's rampaging through the ship, especially not in the face. Meanwhile, Wesley is showing Salia the holodeck.
Can a place so remarkable truly exist?
Nah, it's just a process shot. This long, boring bit, including them standing on some Rice Krispie balls, finally ends, leading to more of Anya being difficult, trying to persuade Worf to not confine her on the grounds that he sucks. Don't you understand, Worf? She resorts to taunting him when he refuses to acquiesce, but he's responsible enough not to let his bruised ego get in the way of his duty. Damn it. You can imagine how peeved she must be when she realizes Salia is gone. She and Wesley have gone to 10 forward for their date, where Salia talks about how much it'll suck once they get to where they're going, because she's going to be stuck there.
You could stay.
That is totally plausible. Really. She runs out.
Just because a girl runs out doesn't mean she doesn't wish you to follow.
Although Wesley is the exception that proves the rule.
I can't have this life. I want it more than anything, but I can't have it.
Celia, nothing is impossible.
Except hiding Playboys from my mom. She always knows where to look. Well, Picard and Anya arrive with a team of Starfleet's finest cockblockers to put a stop to this scene. She gets carted off and Wesley goes back to work, helping LaForge finally finish the work on the engines so they can get the hell on with this mission and leave the shape-changing monsters somewhere safe. And then Wesley goes to sobbing his pillow or whatever he does. Picard finally calls him up to explain that Wesley's going to have to stay away from Salia to make sure that Anya doesn't hulk out and kill somebody. Only Salia is not too happy with that either. She's arguing with Anya about the smothering. But this teen angst is interrupted by them finally arriving at their destination, a planet that's identical to the one that they'd just left. No, we didn't fly in a big circle, not this time.
How could anyone exist in an environment so totally hostile toward human life?
Well, gee, they're shapeshifters. Maybe they're not like you. While they're trying to punch through the atmospheric interference so they can get a hold of somebody to take these people off their hands, Salia slips in to see Wesley while he's playing a game of whatever the hell that is. Knight to Rook 4. You sank my battleship!
Anya thought you would corrupt me.
With my wild way of life?
Maybe.
Well, now you know she's overreacting. Wesley is wild in the same way you might get heartburn from a saltine. It's interrupted by the arrival of Anya in monster form, so Salia transforms into a monster too. And then, of course, per Japanese film rules, they must grow to a gigantic size and fight in the middle of a city. The obvious intention was that Salia was going to fight to protect Wesley if she had to, and since beating up Salia would kind of be the opposite of what her job is, Anya just transforms back and falls back on blaming Wesley. After all, it's his fault that she came into these quarters. Now, in Wesley's defense, no one has ever wanted to see Wesley before. The experience for him would be like discovering trolls under your bed. How do you deal with that? With that mess sorted out, they finally get a message, but it's from a terawatt source, which is more power than the entire Enterprise can generate, so they can't send a reply down. Despite this, they have transport coordinates and can beam down Salia. Now think about that. You can't tell the people down there hi, but you can safely send a matter transport beam down there of someone to say hi for you. This isn't even necessary for the plot. It's not as if being unable to talk to them would matter for any purpose. It's just adding a bit of stupid to the already insipid. And by the way, think about that a moment. There's a chance that this transporter could have a problem going through the atmosphere. Of all the things to have been worried about this thing, the possibility of pions, the possibility of a disease somehow getting through there, that is fatal. But this thing here, which is far more likely, go right ahead. It's not my problem. I got her here. That was what I was supposed to do. From here on out, you can go running with scissors for all I care, you little shit. But anyway, yeah, the two are parting now, which would be tearful if we gave a rat's ass.
I would not have harmed the boy. I only wanted to frighten him.
You could have just taken your clothes off to accomplish that.
Where will you go?
The third moon is within range of this ship's transporter. I shall go there. It was my home before we went away.
It's not called Endor by any chance, is it?
I am ready now.
Now, old woman, I will read poetry while you throw things at me. While he handles her escort, Wesley has a meeting with Salia to allow him to be insufferable in a whole new way. Yeah, you probably didn't think that was possible, but they were nothing if not pioneers in finding ways to make Wes unlikable. He's angry with her because it turns out she's not really this form, as if she was doing this just to trick and seduce him. You know, because Wesley's such a prize and all that. In the end, though, Wesley rushes in to say goodbye with some chocolate mousse, and she changes into her natural form before beaming down. So she was a ghost the whole time. I'll swallow your soul. What a kidder. So after that, Wesley broods and screw him. Let's just get out of here. Post-episode follow-up. It's a photo finish, but I'm giving the annoying character award to Wesley for crossing the finish line with his pointless speciesism. Final score for the Dauphin is 3 out of 10. It has some well-written parts like the Riker-Guinan scene, Worf-on romance, the subtle bit about the body is only the shell, and then his ending admiration for Anya as a warrior despite appearances. But this is a coming-of-age story about Wesley, coupled to the plot about a rude and overeager protector for an inexplicable mission that has no lessons learned whatsoever. Unless you liked Wesley by this point, you're going to have a hard time caring about any of this, leading to a few all too brief breaks from monotony for the hour.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!